Hello and welcome to our webinar on Unified Champion Schools in Special Olympics, Pennsylvania. My name is Kelsey Foster. I'm the Eastern Unified Champion Schools Manager for Special Olympics, Pennsylvania, and I'm joined today with Lauren. Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Salter. I'm the Western Unified Champion Schools Manager for Special Olympics, Pennsylvania.
And today we're really just going to do a high-level kind of overview of what our program looks like. We've had some immense growth in Unified Champion Schools over the past couple of years. So for many of you who maybe heard us talk a couple of years prior, there are definitely some changes happening. But with that, we're going to dive right in. So here's just a quick breakdown of our program. So Unified Champion Schools has three main components. We will talk more about each component later in this presentation, but just to kind of briefly show you a picture and a little snapshot of how it all works together. So the first component, and probably the most popular one, is our unified sports. This is really what people think about most of the time when they hear Unified Champion Schools. So in Special Olympics, Pennsylvania, we do interscholastic unified sports, which basically just means that it works within the school as any other sport program. So it would be treated the same as any other varsity level sport with competitions with other schools leading up to championships. Some other types of unified sports we will see in schools are young athletes in our elementary schools, unified recreational play, and unified physical education classes. The second component we have is inclusive youth leadership. We see this through unified clubs, also sometimes called inclusive clubs, and our youth summits, which is our inclusive youth leadership training. Last but not least, the last piece of the program is called whole school engagements. This is really any type of activity that the unified clubs put on for the entire school body. And the purpose of this is always advocacy or educational based. And some of the big ideas we see coming from our schools for this component is spread the word inclusion, fans in the stands, and then our Cool Schools Polar Plunge. So before we dive deeper into the program, we're going to quickly kind of go over our UCS team here in Special Olympics, Pennsylvania. We are always growing and is always kind of changing, so it's kind of good to see who is in charge of which counties, because that would be who you contact if you want to know more information about schools in those specific counties. But we have even more. So we also have some stipend positions that help us kind of with their prospective counties as well. Again, I'm not going to read these all to you, but they're there, and their emails will be available on our website if you ever want to get in touch with them. So we're going to quickly address unified sports. So there is sometimes confusion on what is the difference between unified sports in our Unified Champion Schools program and unified sports in our community-based program. So I'm first going to address the Unified Champion Schools. With interscholastic unified sports, this is a school-based competitive program. It is run entirely by the schools and by the Special Olympics staff. So Lauren and I help the schools kind of with the scheduling, with helping them order their uniforms. We really provide the funding they need. So that comes from the staff and state level. The yearly culminating events we have in conjunction with the PIAA state championships. So that's really cool, but it also means you won't see these teams competing with our community-based unified sports team. So we won't see them at Penn State or at Fall Fest competing. They are only going to stay within their prospective school programming. And just on the other hand, with community-based unified sports, this is entirely run by the local programs. So that's really the biggest difference here. So local programs are in control of community-based. Unified Champion Schools is in control by staff and the schools themselves. And of course, with community-based, they have the yearly culminating events with our SOPA state games. So this is just a quick little picture from one of our Philadelphia schools. So Special Olympics North America contacted us and wanted to do a photo shoot in Philadelphia with one of our Unified Champion schools. So this is a national campaign that we were selected for. So you're going to see this all over social media for Spread the Word Inclusion. And just know that we are getting represented by Philadelphia on a national level. So it's pretty cool. This is one of my favorite shots that came out of that. Going into our first thing, we're going to dive a little deeper into interscholastic unified sports. So in this state, we have two main sports. Everyone is doing either unified bocce or unified track and field. Some schools do both if they're really, really strong. And just in Philadelphia, we offer soccer or futsal, which is indoor soccer for those schools that don't have access to outdoor soccer fields. So with rosters, it is a very strict proportional number of athletes and partners. So we really keep that 50-50 split of athletes and partners for all unified teams. We follow the length of the season with the PIAA, so it's normally a 10 to 11 week season. Bocce, we follow winter, and track and field is in the spring. So for practices and competitions, all schools are required to do at least 2 practices after school and a minimum of 3 competitions throughout. And there will be 1 culminating regional championship. The winner of this regional championship will then have the opportunity to advance to our state level competition that is with the PIAA. So for indoor bocce, we have our state championships in Hershey in the Giant Center in conjunction with the PIAA Boys and Girls Basketball State Championships. And for unified track and field, we hold that at Shippensburg University during the PIAA Track and Field Championships. It's absolutely amazing. You can see the picture from the bottom right hand. So we are in there competing at the same time as the PIAA Track and Field State Championships. So they have that entire crowd to kind of perform in front of, which is absolutely amazing. So inclusive youth leadership. As I said, this is mainly for unified clubs. Some of the examples we see is Best Buddies is very strong in certain regions of the state, so that can sometimes work as a unified club. We also see sometimes student government, we see anti-bullying clubs, we see any type of service club. Some have their own like Special Olympics club, so it varies very much from school to school. But these function like any other club in a high school or school community. They meet regularly throughout the year to work on planning these events that promote social inclusion and positive school climate. The goal is for everyone in this club to be agents of change for students with and without intellectual disabilities. Something we do for this is youth summits. So normally we will have about 7 to 8 youth summits across the state. Every school participates. Normally they will send anywhere from 2 to 4 students, so it's kind of the best of their best youth leaders. And we take them and do an all-day inclusive youth leadership training. That's kind of what these pictures are from. So this past year, our theme was Empower Me. So we taught them how to really go back to their schools and make a difference and feel empowered through their words, and also how to empower their teams and school community. And we did a toilet paper fashion show as one of our team building activities. So this is what this picture is from. Last but not least, we're going to talk a little more about whole school engagement. So these are these activities that the unified clubs plan to promote inclusion and acceptance and respect. So all of our schools are required to do at least 3 events per year. Many schools do way more than 3, but we do ask that they do at least 3. And the 3 biggest ones we definitely see are Spread the Word Inclusion. Just as a quick reminder, if that is unfamiliar to you, this was originally Spread the Word to End the Word, and we did revamp it last year to Spread the Word Inclusion. Another one is Fans in the Stands. So this is really just our term for packing the stands whenever they have a home meet for their unified team. So if they have a home bocce meet or a home track and field event, they're really working together to get people to cheer on their teams and make everyone feel welcome, just as if it was any other varsity sport event. And of course, fundraising. We'll talk a bit more about the numbers later on, but our schools have really gotten involved with our polar plunges through Cool Schools and it's really taken off, and it's absolutely amazing to see what these high schoolers can do. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Lauren to talk to us about some numbers.
Thanks, Kels. So as Kelsey had mentioned before, we've seen a lot of growth with our UCS program and the schools that are participating in it. So we wanted to give you a little snapshot about what is happening with the growth and the numbers around our programming here. So you'll see on here that we have a total of 193 schools currently. This is an ever-growing number. 193 schools that are currently participating in UCS. So that does include 13 elementary and middle schools with 180 high schools currently existing in 32 counties. And this year we have actually been able to add an additional 8 counties to our programming, which is really awesome. So those new counties that we have added activity in, you'll see here in the green. So the Bedford, the Berks, Washington, Cambria, Monroe, Somerset, McKean, and Potter are the newest additions. And with that addition means that we have UCS activity happening in all 12 competitive athletic districts for PIAA, which is, again, just a really awesome milestone to be able to achieve. So below that chart, you'll see some numbers there of just our school growth starting from 2014 with the 34 schools and 866 participants. And we'll look at the numbers for 2018, 2019, up to 166 and to over 3,000 participants. So this year we've seen a good amount of growth going up to that 193, and you won't see a number of athletes and partners in that total number quite yet. We're getting ready, getting geared up for our track season, and kind of got cut short with COVID. So we are collecting our rosters, so we will be able to, at a later time, be able to have a better picture of what our total participation would have been for this year. With our ever-growing numbers, we're definitely looking to have some goals for our expansion coming up for next year. So a few goals that we have is we would really love to add and are aiming to add 25 new high schools. And in addition to that, another 20 middle and elementary schools, which would bring us up to about 238 schools, and adding another 4 counties into our participation. And with those numbers, we have some focuses that we really want to target. And with that, we're shifting a little bit and going into more middle and elementary within 5 of the districts, and then looking to expand with some new schools in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh areas through our Cities of Inclusion initiatives. Kelsey had mentioned before that we do have a few schools, and that is a growing number as well, that are able to offer a second sport. We do have some qualifying criteria for them to meet before we approve them for that second sport, but we're looking to always add some more schools that have met that bar to move into that. Our last focus that we're looking to add into our programming is unified fitness. So this is just one more awesome opportunity to enhance our program and be able to meet the needs of more schools as we continue to grow. When we look at sustainability, our schools are just off the charts, awesome fundraisers, hands down. This year just blew everything out of the water as far as expectations for polar plunges. So our schools, 73 participating schools, had raised $145,000 through the Cool Schools Polar Plunges this year, and that's just it's really amazing to see what they have done. They work really hard to make that happen, and you'll see the breakdown below that. I'm not going to read each one of them to you, but you can see at each of the plunges that the number of schools that are there and the amount of money that they were able to raise for those plunges. Most if not all of these individual plunges had new school participation, and blew any expectation as far as participation and amount raised just out of the water. So that amount of money allows them to continue their programming and allow us to be able to offer that programming opportunity to other schools. Our Unified Champion Schools National Banner Recognition, it is a national program that highlights and honors the best of the best as far as Unified Champion Schools across the country. So Pennsylvania has been fortunate. We have had 7 inductees over the last few years. And most recently in 2019, we had Haverford and Fox Chapel that were honored with the National Banner Recognition. And we do have a number of schools that we are looking to submit for the National Banner Recognition this year. So as soon as those are announced, we will put that out there for everybody to be aware of. The next topic I just want to touch base on before we wrap up here is about the transition plan. And this is a plan that is done in coordination with various departments throughout SOPA. It is not a UCS only type deal. We have to definitely work together to make this successful. And the benefits of this to local programs are really countless, but it is leading to new partnerships within schools. It's bringing in prospective volunteers, athletes, coaches, donors. Our participants and coaches are new folks that can come into your program and just help and participate in a variety of ways. So this is definitely engaging those young people, and our participants also count towards county numbers as well. So a few benefits there for the local programs, and just is a wonderful opportunity to help educate the schools on what's available after graduation. I don't know how many times I've been at events and folks are just not aware, and it's an opportunity. So we do ask and encourage that local programs do foster relationships with school personnel in coordination with us, just to provide that information on what opportunities exist and help us transition those partners and athletes into those community programming after graduation. Of course, we've got a few steps to the plan to make that successful. So we are looking at connecting the community programs and the schools in a variety of ways. Right now, we are working on getting some flyers out to our graduating seniors that provides information to them on what sports are offered for their local programs in their area and what volunteer opportunities currently exist. So they're able to have that. We're also encouraging and provide information and opportunities to local programs to be available and present to connect with folks at our regular season and championship events. It's just a wonderful opportunity to meet face to face and be able to share that information, be a little bit more personal than a flyer or an email or even a phone call. So we've been also providing some opportunities to students to experience the community program at our state level events, such as Fall Fest through the Unified Sports Experience.
With that, we will wrap it up. If you do have any additional questions about the Unified Champion School program, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself, Lauren, or anyone from the Unified Champion School team. We are always happy to talk to you about the program. Our contact information can be found on our website, as well as a ton of other resources from our schools. But with that, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.